Welcome to the Big Play Cleveland Show. I'm Gabriella Cruz alongside Nick Padone, Chris McNeil. It's another Ohio State dub. Cavs off to a hot start, 7-0. That's the hottest since, what, 76 we looked it up?
Yeah.
And our Browns did not win, but we'll get to that. How was your guys' weekend?
Not too bad, Gab. Honestly, it was nice to enjoy these Cavs. It's so cool to have them off to the hottest start since the 70s. That's crazy to say. I know everyone was doing the last time that they were 6-0 was 2016. Obviously, they went to the championship that year, but this team has a hotter start than those Cavs that went to the NBA championship. And when you look at the outward projection of what this team can do, at least we hope, it just gives fans a big reason to be excited. And Chris, we need that reason for excitement because we are not getting it out of our Cleveland Browns over here on Alfred Lerner Way.
It's been exciting to see what Kenny Atkinson's done for the Cavs. We talked about him in the offseason, what he would mean to this team, and we thought he'd bring a lot more tempo, a lot more energy to the Cavs offensively, and then also in practice, he'd be more engaging than what we saw out of Bickerstaff. And so far, that's delivered. I'll tell you what, small sample size, but I'm loving it.
Yeah.
It's nice to go kind of seamlessly from the Guardians to the Cavs. Forget about what the Browns are doing right now. And oh, by the way, on the side, Ohio State answered a few questions over the weekend with a big win over Penn State. So despite the Browns, there's a lot to feel good about right now.
That's the best part about, doing sports in Cleveland, being a Cleveland sports fan, is it's a 3-team town, and you've always got the next thing to look ahead to. And our Buckeyes, Chris, they needed that win. We implored them on the show last week that you've got to beat Penn State. They did. They came back from behind. It was a gutsy way to go about winning that game, I thought. It was a big one for the Buckeyes. That was a big test.
Will Howard, he said he wanted to play for Penn State, ended up throwing a nice touchdown for Penn State there to start off the game, came back nicely himself. The team overall rallied. Thanks a little bit to James Franklin, doing James Franklin type of things for Penn State. Ohio State was able to overcome that, end up getting the victory. So I'm excited about the remainder of the season for them. We talked about the underachievement of this team. Well, right now, games like that show what this team has the potential to do.
And then, Chris, we have the Cleveland Browns. And the trade deadline is here. By the time the show hits the TV airwaves, the trade deadline will have come and gone. But it seems like another lost season for our Browns. I know there were a lot of people, especially after Jameis went out there and was awesome against the Ravens. There were a lot of people that held out a little bit of hope that maybe we could have Flacco Fever 2.0 with Jameis Winston. Maybe we could go on this another magic carpet ride again. But it is starting to be very apparent that this Cleveland Browns season is over.
Well, we kind of knew this with Jameis, right? We knew we'd get the highs, we knew we'd get the lows, and I'm sure organizationally they did as well. But we really hung on to him as our last bastion of hope, right? So now I think the team that we see after the bye is going to be completely different than the team we've got right now because we're going to be selling off some parts. We are really in transition. We are really at a crossroads once again in Cleveland for our Browns.
Yeah, we're in like full evaluation mode, guys. Like it's time to find out what these young guys on the roster can do. Cedric Tillman, do you have an NFL player there? It sure seems like you do. Yeah. And then defensively, I want to see way more out of Diabate and some of these guys that you don't see much of. There's not much room for vets on this squad anymore. It's time to start looking to next year and which of these guys could hang around and be a part of this mini little rebuild that's going to happen now after the worst trade in the history of professional sports.
Yeah, maybe this is a zoomed out question, but does it benefit us a whole lot to really be focused on, I don't know, you're reading things out on Twitter about maybe we just got to lose so then we can have our high draft pick.
Well, yeah, tank out at this point. I mean, this team has already shown that they cannot compete for the playoffs this year. You've only got 2 wins at this point. You're coming off a bye next week. And I think the real focus is on the future. And the future right now is breaking down what they've got, taking those parts to acquire draft picks and new assets so that we can rebuild this team. It's going to be long and painful, Gab. I really think.
A lot of 2-7 teams as well. So you're going to have some competition of teams that are going to want to lose games in order to get that premier draft pick. So, yeah, time to tear this baby down to the studs.
It hurts to say.
Well, guys, we got to bring in our Garage Beer featured interview. I don't know. We got to get the vibes higher here in this Burke Lakefront Airport. We're bringing in Austin Love, former WKYC reporter, and now you're into the real estate world. Absolutely. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you so much for having me here. I guess I'll be the jet fuel for today being here at Burke Airport.
Wow,
let's bring up the energy, vibes guy, trying to do everything I can. But also, guys, I'm a little offended so far because you've talked about Browns, you've talked about about Cavs. You've talked about the Buckeyes. No word from my Hawkeyes after a big win over Wisconsin this weekend. What the heck, guys? My goodness. Let's go Hawks, baby. Let's go.
Hey.
How about this? Last time we had Austin in studio, it was Eclipse Day. So to think about how far we've come, because another team that wasn't really mentioned there were the Guards and the run that they went on.
Yes.
How about, too, we were just getting ready to have the women's Final Four in town.
Yeah.
Speaking of Iowa Hawkeyes, Caitlin Clark was here in Cleveland.
Yep.
So, dude, yeah, it's been a minute since we've had you in. I guess we'll start with the Guards. What'd you think of the run that they went on? Because obviously it was a bit of a surprise to, I think, everybody. First-year manager is probably going to win Manager of the Year, and they went on a really fun run there.
Yeah, so, I mean, from where we're sitting, last time I was here, it was home opener, and, you know, the eclipse was going on, and you really didn't know what you were going to get with this Guardians team. You know, new manager. I think we had put so much faith in Tito and kind of what he had built, and we're like, okay, you know, we have a lot of young talent here, but they were coming off a disappointing season last season. So we were sitting there being like, I don't really know where it's kind of coming here. And all season, they just kept showing up, fighting. And through that April, they killed. Through May, they killed. Had a little bit of a slow spot in June towards the All-Star break and in July. And then we were kind of, I feel like everyone in Cleveland was kind of waiting for the tank. And we were watching it in August, and we're like, oh my gosh, like, here we go. We knew it was going to happen, and yada, yada, yada. And that was a make or break time for that team. And it really just showed their true colors of coming in and turning that around, having this huge magical postseason run. I mean, I got offered last minute tickets for game 3, that Thursday night game where it was the home run.
Have you ever seen a baseball game like that before?
Oh,
no. I think the only thing that it compares to is 2016 Game 7. And that didn't quite turn out super well for us. So I'm saying that this one was the best. I mean, one of the most magical up and down roller coaster vibes of my entire life. I was sitting in 146 right next to me. There was all these Yankee fans, and you know how arrogant these people are. They're looking at us. They're booing. You know, like, game's over, might as well leave. And the fact that we won that game, it was worth everything. But I love this team. They're true. They just encapsulate Cleveland. I know that this is the Cavs song where they say hard-working town, hard-working team.
Classic 90s song right there. Good drop.
I'm also going to bring it over to the Guardians as well. They're everything you want in a baseball team in Cleveland.
Yeah, and I feel like they don't even get as much love or props sometimes. Like, we've really had to fight to get them front and center, I feel.
Absolutely, because they're a stable organization, God forbid.
Yeah.
And, you know, everyone always talks about...
That's no fun.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And it's funny. They're like, well, the Dolans don't spend money. The Dolans don't do this. The Dolans don't do that. It's like, well, you have the Haslams out here with the most expensive roster in football, you know, and they're spending all this money. So, like, what do you want, you know? So the stability of that organization should be celebrated in Cleveland. And they've continued to show up every single year. We've been spoiled in baseball in Cleveland, you know?
We have been. We got to take a quick break. Austin, Love, thanks so much for joining us in studio. We'll be back with more Big Play Cleveland right after this. Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland Show. We are chatting it up with Austin Love.
What's up?
You may recognize him from WKYC. Spent some time as a reporter. Now he's dabbling in real estate. We should get to know a little bit more about your life besides your sports fandom. But how's it going?
We're dabbling. I'll tell you that right now. One of the most exciting things that so I work for Cushman Wakefield Cresco Real Estate, and in the commercial side. So the new one that I think is going to be great for you guys and all sports fans, all the viewers, is Urban Meyer's Pine House coming down to the old Winking Lizard. So I was on that listing, and we're able to kind of help navigate that deal. I'll put all of the gusto onto my boss Rico Petro, who really kind of designed this whole thing. But I'm super excited. You know, speaking of the Guardians, you know, and I hate to just keep talking about the Guardians, but that Gateway District is so much fun. We were down there. I kind of fell in love with it after seeing how much it came alive with all of those great places during the playoffs, like Cleveland Clevelander was rocking. I didn't know that Clevelander had a second story onto it.
Yeah.
And then also like Whistle and AJ Rocco's, and then on the other side it's Southern Tier. So this is going to be right in the middle. It's the old Winking Lizard space. It is such a cool space. It's going to be 3 stories. Urban Meyer Pine House. It is going to be the premier place to not just watch Ohio State, but I think it's going to be the best pregame in town. I think it's going to be the best post-game in town, during game in town, whatever it is. And they're teaming up and collaborating with Saucy Brewworks. We love Saucy and the beer that they have. We should have gotten garage beer on there, I'll tell you what, so they could have had one of these cool thrones. But it's going to be a really exciting thing down there, so we're happy to get that deal right.
Chris, we got to keep Stefanski out of there. We got to keep Stefanski out of the Pine House. No viral videos going on.
Seriously.
Seriously. We'll keep him out of there. The rest of us allowed in there.
Yeah,
That'll be fun.
and that's a great spot to start your night if you're going to see the Cavs as well, right
100%.
there.
Yeah,
So what do you
Cavs.
think about the Cavs season so far? We've talked a little bit about the hot start right
I wore
now.
my wine.
There you
I
go.
didn't wear the gold. I thought that might be a
Is
little.
that members only, by the way? What kind of a
I
jacket
don't know
you got
what
there?
this is. Honestly, I'll let you. It might be Amazon.
Oh,
know,
fair
You
shout
do
out
have the
There you
gold
go.
hair, though. So
The
he's
golden hair. There
He's
we
wine
go.
and
Bada
gold.
bing, bada- Thanks for the catch. I appreciate that. I'm super excited about this Cavs team.
Yeah.
It's so funny because we have had this premier superstar in Donovan Mitchell for the past, what has he been here for 3 years? But he was traded here. So I feel like Cavs fans, but also Clevelanders, we're kind of finicky fan base. So we're like, well, he didn't choose us. We kind of took him. And then, seeing what they were able to do, and shout out to Kobe Altman for, not only re-signing him, but sticking with his guns to just like, all right, we're going to roll it back out again and see what happens. But then, bringing Kenny Atkinson on, who's been able to do, been able to kind of bridge the gap from where they were the past few years and been able to elevate them as well. But, going back to Donovan, it's like now that he chose Cleveland, I feel like we can all be huge Donovan Mitchell fans and really get on board with that, So I'm super excited for this Cavs. I mean, how could you not be? Undefeated so far. Going to be 8-0 hopefully this evening. And I think to your point there, McNeil, was they have been able, unlike what they were able to do with JB Bickerstaff, they kind of played a slow offense. They were, 24th in tempo in the NBA? When you have a Donovan Mitchell, when you have Darius Garland, get the ball moving, And right now, I think
Even Evan Mobley.
And
you
Mobley.
see him running.
Absolutely. Guy runs like a freaking gazelle. So, and he's been able to be a little bit more athletic. And I think what it was is that who Donovan is going to be. You know who he is. You know who he's been. He can show up at any point, but it's the steps that Mobley has already taken in this, which is, and hopefully throughout the season, is going to be where it comes from all right, mid-playoff team to, potential NBA Finals contender. So.
Yeah, do you think JB was the biggest issue, or was he kind of a scapegoat? It looks like Atkinson is really making some good decisions with figuring out rotations and where the chemistry's at.
I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Look at us so far. But also, too, JB, and I don't want to poo-poo on JB. I think he did a fine job for the area where he was. But I think that he got the Cavs to the area where they are right now. And then Kenny Atkinson, I think, is the guy who's going to take him to that next level.
Yeah. JB, he did his job. He had to come in here after John Beeline, which was tough.
An absolute dumpster fire.
He rose us out of the ashes for sure. All right, speaking of that, we've officially gone, what is it? 13 minutes and 47 seconds without talking about the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, boy, yeah. And here we
2-7 Cleveland Browns.
2-7 is just crazy. And I don't think any of us would have expected that, anticipated that. We talked about our last conversation, was on the day of the eclipse. We were so excited just about the outlook of Cleveland sports, period. I think you could have baked the Browns in there because we just had so much fun throughout Flacco fever and all of this. But the other shoe has dropped, and the Cleveland Browns that we've come to know seem to be back.
Yeah, I mean, and you're seeing with Jameis that you kind of knew with Jameis, unfortunately, is that he's not Jekyll and Hyde, he's Jameis and Hyde. And where last game he came out, he had those 3 touchdowns, the huge yards, was offensive player of the week, yada yada yada, and then last week or this week he's throwing 3 interceptions, you know. So unfortunately,
But
that's
the pregame speeches are
they're
fabulous,
electric.
right?
That's why I love Jameis though. Like I love Jameis. I cannot poo-poo on the guy. I think he's phenomenal. He is the all-time vibes guy.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, and you want that guy in your locker room. I just don't know if you necessarily want him to be your franchise quarterback, but again, he's going to come back and probably next game and throw 3 touchdowns, and we're going to be like, okay, maybe there's a shot again at the playoffs. You know, we're trying to maneuver some different things, but, you know, with the Browns and kind of where they're at right now, I mean, we're kind of in football prison to a degree. And, you know, I was thinking on the way here, I was like, if you remember that scene in Waterboy where Bobby Boucher walks in and meets Coach Klein for the first time, and he's kind of in this manic state. He's not mad. He's like watching old tape, and he's like, oh, and there's, you know, they fumble the ball, and he has enough time to dust it off and walk it in before our guys even know what the heck's going on. It's like, I'm not mad. I'm just like, just bamboozled at this point. It's like, what is there to be mad about? You know, and you can be frustrated, but it's just like, I don't know what to go. I don't know what to do from here. I don't know where to go from here. Because also too, it's like, you know, if they trade off all these, everyone's talking about, you know, fire sale, which is great in theory, but also too, where we've had our draft, we haven't had stellar drafts before. Granted, we haven't had a first-round pick, but you know, and we're going to be trading off these guys who really don't have that high of a stock. You know, what are we going to be doing? Just stockpiling away 6th and 7th round picks? I don't know, and that are great to join training camp and then, you know, toodaloo at the end of the season. So I don't know, but we'll see. I'm always faithful in the Browns and faithful in Cleveland, and hopefully we're able to right the ship here.
Yeah, trying to find a path forward seems to be the theme of the week.
Yeah.
It's like, where do we go from here? You know, what is the path forward? Because we know it's not what we've seen. That can't be it. It can't be more of the same. But what do you do? Where do you go? You know, seems to really be what's front and center on everyone's mind.
One of the answers right now is Brook Park, potentially. And you being a real estate guy, tell me about your thoughts about the Browns moving down to Brook Park and where we're at with that.
So, well, that, but also with the new development that they also kind of talked about in Berea.
Berea.
I see it. I've talked to a lot of different people about this. I've talked to business owners, bar owners, you know, politicians in the area, business owners, the whole deal. I'm super split on it because, you know, as much as you want the Cleveland Browns to stay in Cleveland, I think if you're looking at this stuff in Brook Park, and it is exciting. How could you not sit here and be like, this is a super exciting opportunity? I think it'd be a little bit more exciting if we had a great team to go along with it. But I can see it from both angles, and I hate to balance on a fence here. But, you know, but
I was going to say, play the game with us here. Come on, you got to take one side or the other. You can't just straddle here.
I see where gun to my head, I like the Brook Park option. I think it's really cool.
You want to see concerts, right? They promise all kinds of concerts, all kinds of events that we're going to host.
You want to see concerts, don't
That's
you?
right.
Well, and here's
you
the
want to
thing.
see Taylor Swift down there. That's what you want to see, right,
and here's
Austin?
the thing. Let's start delivering, though, as well, too.
Yeah.
And but also it's $4 billion into the economy. Who's going to kind of who can put that away, you know? And I think that's going to be great for Cleveland, the Northeast Ohio area. But also too, they're talking about the Burke Airport. Unfortunately, I don't know where you guys would go. Maybe you can.
Hey, I'd be okay with
negotiate
that.
A nice little studio.
We'd figure it out.
Yeah, we'd
down there in Brook
figure
Park.
it out.
There you
We
go.
go down to Brook Park too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's exciting. I wish that there were earlier conversations with the Browns and Cleveland so that they could come up maybe with a better solution. And I'm not privy to a lot of these conversations, but from public view, it kind of looks like they came in at a late hour. And unfortunately, I think the Browns had already made up their mind on what they were going to do, what they were looking to do. But I'm excited about the opportunity and seeing it. And hopefully we're wrong in that it's not going to decimate downtown. But I do love who doesn't love the vibe down here on a game day, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not like playing politics over here. I have nothing to lose, but I do think that I can see positives of both sides and I can see negatives of both sides, and I think anyone that's being honest can see that as well.
Agreed. And I think it'll be one of those things too where it is still like really far away from happening. Like that's like
We're so far.
yeah, we're like 5 years from
But they also
anything
better
else.
get moving on it though too,
Yeah.
because you know construction takes a long time. That is on an area. It was an old Ford plant, and they have to do soil cleanup, and I mean a lot of this stuff takes time. So it takes longer than you think, and it's more expensive than you think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well said. Huge thanks to Austin Love for
Thank you guys
popping
for
in
having me on
studio
again.
with
I
us.
appreciate it.
Always fun. Hey, maybe before we get a next eclipse, we got to do it again.
I hope so.
Hey, plug your handles and just everything you're up to, people to check
Yeah,
out.
absolutely. Thank you. Follow me at Austin Love TV. I'm on WKYC once in a while. I have my food show, North Eats Ohio. I have a podcast. It's called Love in the Land with Austin Love, where we interview. It's a sit-down hour, 45 minutes to an hour interview where I try to talk to influencers in the city, whoever it may be, decision makers, bar owners. We have Craig Hassel from Playhouse Square. He was on recently. I also have Brent Zimmerman from Saucy Brewworks. He will be dropping on Thursday, and he's going to talk a little bit more about the Urban Meyer Pine House as well, too. So check it out.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Much love, guys.
Thanks
For
so
sure.
much.
Thanks so much for popping in.
I'm going to take one of these cases of garage beer, too,
Yeah, you
right?
better.
No. All right. See you guys.
We'll be back with more Big Play Cleveland right after this. Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland Show. Always great vibes to have Austin Love in the studio. We really got to get to these brownies, though. We got our Browns recap brought to you by Fairway Ford. Chris, this is for you.
Today's Browns recap is brought to you by Fairway Ford. Fairway Ford is the largest truck dealership in Ohio. They have the largest selection of F-150s and Super Duty trucks, and they won't be beat on price by any other Ford dealers. So don't let a short drive to Canfield prevent you from saving thousands on your new truck. Fairway Ford, the largest inventory of new Ford trucks, the lowest pricing, and the same hometown level of service. Visit fairwayfordohio.com.
Okay, boys, let's start with the offense here. What do you think?
Yeah.
Well, we got.
Let's start with that offense here.
Obviously, we didn't see the same numbers from Winston, and we've
Yeah.
been saying it, that running joke about, you're going to get some touchdowns out of him, but also some interceptions. What did you think of his play? And maybe also, the fact that Nick Chubb, we haven't really gotten him going. Cedric Tillman definitely didn't look like the guy that we saw in the Ravens game. What do you think was the biggest difference from our standpoint offensively?
Yeah, you saw some regression there, obviously, from the offense overall from the week before against the Ravens. I think for Jameis, it was very expected. We were expecting him to throw some interceptions and also throw some touchdowns. Unfortunately, we only saw one of those. With as disappointing as it was, he still passed for over 200 yards, which is something Deshaun Watson was not doing within this offense. So although this was still an unacceptable offensive effort overall, we did see a little bit of progression from the days we had with Deshaun Watson. We were seeing other receivers get involved in this offense on a more consistent basis. We saw the ball moving a little bit, but at the end of the day, still, it is not an NFL offense. It was big regression over what we saw the week before.
They start so slow. I don't know how you can start an NFL game. I get starting basketball games slow when there's 82. Same with baseball. I mean, you go into slumps, they're at 162. But when you do prep all week for Sunday and you come out flat, I just don't understand how that happens, because you look at some of the other high-powered, high-octane offenses around the league, they start games fast. The Browns don't do that. Take some shots out the gate. I don't care if it ends in an interception to start. The interceptions that are annoying creep in when you have to throw the football 40 times because you're trying to come back from down 20-3.
46 attempts yesterday for Jameis.
I mean, you got to start a little bit faster in these games. We find the Browns get down so behind, and then it's just their offensive scheme as is playing dink and dunk football, kind of playing it safe anyway. Take some shots early in the game and try to get ahead to a lead because, right now, the offense is just completely broken still.
Do you want to see Winston then continue, or do we sub in DTR, see what he's made of?
That's an organizational type of question there, because it's not as simple as, hey, let's pick this guy, Winston, over DTR. It's, what does the future look like? Do we think that DTR might be our future and we want to give him a try right now? Or do we still think that despite the fact we've had him in this organization now for a bit, that he's still not ready to be the starter week to week? Well, then that says a whole lot about him as well. So I, right now, as we sit, Going into the bye, I expect Jameis Winston to be rolled back out there again. I know there are a lot of people thinking DTR, but I think this organization might be a little skittish on throwing DTR back out there to the Wolves again.
Another piece of that, Chris, and I hit on it in the open, is the Browns need to be and should be in full-blown evaluation mode. And I think to get the best evaluation, you need a veteran quarterback like Jameis Winston who's at least able to deliver the football from the pocket. No offense to DTR, because I think he can do his skill set is unique in a way where he does a lot of things that we wanted Deshaun Watson to do, improvising outside of the pocket, using his legs and being athletic. But I think to truly evaluate, can DeJuan Jones be the left tackle of the future? Is Jack Conklin worth bringing back next year? What do you really have in Cedric Tillman, Elijah Moore, Jerry Jeudy even? You got to evaluate that with as little variables as possible. And I think to me, that means rolling with Jameis as the starter, because you know that he'll at least be able to get rid of the football on time and in rhythm. Will he make the right decision? Maybe not all the time. We learned that the hard way on Sunday, but I think you have to keep rolling with Jameis just to get a true look at what else you have.
How about defensively? Myles Garrett, good to see him explode there. 3 sacks for him. But then what's with the back end of the defense, you think? They were a little hot and cold yesterday.
I think Denzel Ward and Juan Thornhill at some point should maybe shake hands and introduce themselves to each other, because they are just not on the same page. They have no idea what's going on at any given point in the game. We thought that was lifted when Joe Woods was gone, but it's a lot of those same issues of blown coverages, miscommunications. The defensive secondary was always a little bit overrated. Greg Newsome is not a true NFL corner. He's a slot guy that could maybe make some plays in the slot. Same with Martin Emerson Jr. Really young player, still has a lot of upside, but we were expecting the world out of him in a really short amount of time. So the secondary was always a smidge overrated, but a lot of these issues seem to just be miscommunications.
This secondary basically has 2 modes. Either they're all pointing at each other because they just gave up a big touchdown, or they're dancing together. One or the other. Can we find something in the middle where they're just talking and they can actually be productive on the field? That's what I'm looking for, Nick.
Oh, gosh. All right, we'll get more into the weeds here. We've got to take a quick break. Thanks for watching the Big Play Cleveland Show. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland Show. Let's get into our fill in the blank game. Chris, this is brought to us by Affinity Whole Health. How's it going with your journey?
It's going great. And I go back there this week for my evaluation, my follow-up. To this point, I feel better. I'm actually down a few lbs since I started the program. And I think that I've gotten a little bit more muscular, although you may not be able to tell yet. And I'll tell you, the overriding thing, my energy. It's off the scale. Through this very, very tough Browns season and my tough travel schedule, I've still been able to maintain my energy to watch all these games, no matter how bad they get, Nick, and still get in my workouts afterwards and spend time with the kids. So, and I attribute all of that to Affinity Whole Health. Affinity Whole Health has been around since 2012. They've helped over 10,000 patients. Their team can help you, just like they helped me, get more energy, increased muscle, lose weight, and keep it off with injectable semaglutide. It's quick and easy to get started. They have local offices and 2-day delivery on treatments that get shipped straight to your doorstep. So don't wait any longer. Click the link on our show clips to set up a free consultation, and you can check them out at their website, affinityWholeHealth.com.
I thought you were getting a little, that shirt
More muscular?
getting a little tight on you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Gab.
Guys, the Browns during this bye week need to blank.
Go away. Just go away. Figure some things out, because I'm sick of dealing with these Cleveland Browns right now. This is the most frustrated I've been in years, and I've been through 1-31 as everyone else has. And right now, this team is unlikable. This team is not winning, and this team has regressed. And they need to go and figure out what the plan is going to be. And I'll tell you, the organization has got to let the fans know, hey, what are our next steps? Because forget about the remainder of this season. This is all going to be just completely academic for the Browns at this point. They need to set the course for where the Browns are going to be going down the way. And right now, they have not communicated that. That's something I'm looking for the organization to give all the fans.
Yeah, the Browns need to really look towards the future during this bye week. This season is over, guys. And it's really about figuring out what you're going to do at the top of the NFL draft. It's figuring out what you're going to do with some of the players that are currently on the roster. You know, do you bring some of these guys back? Do you extend them? Do you trade them? Obviously, the NFL trading deadline is Tuesday. We seldomly see like the big blockbuster moves happen at the trade deadline. NFL a little bit different than baseball, basketball, and hockey, whereas the bigger transactions usually happen in the offseason. But those are things that you start preparation for now. I mean, we heard during the year where Baker hurt his shoulder that they were prepping to overhaul that quarterback position mid-year. They knew Baker was not the guy anymore. So it's time for the Browns to start prepping for next year, because this year is a complete and utter wash.
It's funny to hear all of these comments now, because it was just so starkly different last week. I think you would have thought, and Cleveland thought collectively, that we really had a pivotal moment for this organization, but we are back to the bare bones of looking in the future and starting from scratch, it seems like.
I think that was more optimism from this fan base more than anything else. I think most people objectively could have looked at this team and did look at this team and said, is Jameis the answer? No, but last year at this time we were looking at Joe Flacco the same way. Was he the answer? Well, probably not. And ultimately, he really wasn't, although he took us on a fun ride. Maybe we could have the same kind of fun ride with Jameis. And now, a week into that, people are saying, well, maybe not.
The fact of the matter is, too, people want to do the Flacco wars, Jameis wars, Deshaun wars, Baker wars. The Browns still don't have a franchise quarterback, and we've been doing this for the last 8 years since they went 1-31 to get Baker Mayfield. You've gone 8 years on this experiment to pull off one of the most calculated tank jobs in NFL history. You've done nothing with it, and you're looking right down the barrel of doing it all over again. You've spent 8 seasons on this. It hasn't worked, and you still don't have a franchise quarterback. At the end of the day, everyone was wrong. No one was right. The Browns don't have a franchise quarterback.
Well, I don't think Winston was going to be the future, but like you said, I think people thought after last week, maybe we're going to have a fun ride on our hands. We're going to be excited we're going to not be slopping in on Monday mornings thinking like, this is just getting old type of deal.
Sobering. Yeah. Sobering is what Sunday was. Once again for Browns fans.
One word I would use to describe the Browns' first half of the season is
unwatchable. I mean, most of these games were really vomit-inducing. Even the game where they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars and they had to go jumbo set, use every tight end and offensive lineman they humanly could to keep Deshaun Watson upright. The one watchable game was against the Ravens, where Jameis Winston threw for 29 points and won the AFC Offensive Player of the Week. But outside of that, these games have been horrible.
We've had one fun game at home so far, and that's been that Ravens game. And that was a lot of fun to be a part of. You know, you had a lot going around that game that day, and the team really showed up. Outside of that, this season has been absolutely no fun. Even the win at Jacksonville was no fun at all. So that's what we're dealing with as Browns fans, and that's where this team has got to go back over this bye, come back, and I think have a plan not only on the field but also for the fans as well.
Guys, Art Modell getting into the Hall of Fame would be
just a kick in the teeth. Absolute kick in the teeth. There's no way that guy needs to go into the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. He moved this team. He was a bad businessman. He did do some good things for the NFL, the Monday night games, and some of the ways that he expanded the league. But ultimately, at the end of the day, he took one of the signature franchises in the NFL, and that's the Cleveland Browns. He moved them to Baltimore. I don't think that you can put a guy like that into Canton, Ohio.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think as long as Tony Grossi, as long as Mary Kay Cabot, and the great Hall of Fame voters that we have here in Cleveland, they're going to fight tooth and nail to keep Art Modell out of that Hall of Fame, because they understand the football history here, and they were part of that history, Chris, was Tony Grossi, and I truly believe and kind of know that he's going to make it his life mission to make sure that Art Modell doesn't get inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So, Grossi, we appreciate you for that.
We'll be back with more Big Play Cleveland. Right after this, we're going to take a short break. Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland Show. We're continuing on with our fill in the blank. Dennis Allen was fired from the Saints today as we are shooting this show. Blank will be the next head coach fired this season.
You know, Nick, you can't have a team going 2-7 without there being some consequences. Brian Daboll, you're going to be the next one that's gone. I don't know that the Browns are going to be making any moves, but I could see the Giants making a move.
I thought you were getting ready to say Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah.
And I really think, Chris, as well, you could look at Mike McCarthy and what they have going on in Dallas. I know Jerry Jones is always a little bit reluctant to make a move like that mid-season. We've seen him kind of ride it out till the bitter end with his head coaches. But the Dallas Cowboys, we're talking about a mess that we have on our hands here in Cleveland. They just paid CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott a ton of money, and they are not seeing the results on the field. But
and Jerry Jones is not happy.
You look around the league, and there are a couple head coach openings, and I think Bill Belichick will probably be another hot candidate again come this winter.
By the way, did you see his Halloween costume?
I did.
You
I
guys
thought it
see
was,
that? Did you see the
no,
Halloween
what was
costume?
it?
Oh my gosh.
Belichick's living his best life, man.
He is. His girlfriend is dressed up as a mermaid, and he's kind of a fisherman bringing her in.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not making that up. That
That's
is an
crazy.
actual thing.
Oh, so that is really his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow. Alrighty. I feel blank about Ohio State after that Penn State game.
I feel relief. I talked about this last week. I think we have the kind of roster that's a national championship roster. There are questions around whether Ryan Day can win the big game. This doesn't completely answer that, but going up to Happy Valley, getting that victory, that was a big step in what I hope to be a national championship for the Ohio State Buckeyes this year. Needed to happen. It did happen. Now we continue on the roll.
Yeah, I mean, it was just needed, flat out. I mean, you lose that game, it would have been a true doom and gloom show in here today. So I'm so glad that they were able to pull that one out. But, hey, you look ahead. Michigan, you win that one, and then you were right there in the thick of things at the top of the new college football playoff seeding, and it'll create for more questions and more drama about can Ryan Day continue to win these big games. But I think for Ohio State, for Will Howard, for Ryan Day, beating the number 3 ranked team in the nation and giving Penn State their first loss of the year was massive for the Ohio State Buckeyes, so I was glad to see that win.
Okay, let's go Cavs. We did start the show by mentioning we're 7-0. This is a hot start, hottest start since the 70s. It's really exciting, beating teams like Knicks, Lakers, Magic, Bucks. This hot start is
just what the town needed. You go almost seamlessly from the Guardians to the Cavaliers. Forget about what the Browns are doing right now. This team, the Cavs, have really caught the imagination of everybody. And what Kenny Atkinson has been able to put together in his rookie season with the Cavs has been fantastic. And now you look at all the players on the floor and you think, where's the ceiling for each of these guys individually? And then collectively, where's the ceiling for this squad? And I think it could be a championship level, Nick.
I mean, so far in this young season, they've beaten the Knicks, they've beaten the Lakers, the Bucks, the Magic. These are good teams.
Yeah.
So they are exactly where we wanted and hoped they would be in our blue sky scenario. You know, where if you would have said at the beginning of the season, create your perfect scenario for the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're right there. They're at the top of the Eastern Conference. Now, obviously, you've got to sustain this. Obviously, it's a long 82-game season. I don't think anybody's realistically anticipating them to go 82-0. But it gives you hope that they've been able to show out and really flex against some good teams across the association, that this is something that can be sustained through the playoffs. The regular season has never been much of an issue for our Cleveland Cavaliers. That's going back to the J.B. Bickerstaff years as well. It's all going to boil down to what they do in the playoffs come this spring.
That's going back to the Lenny Wilkens years back in the day.
Guys, all right, so we've talked about some of the positive things Kenny Atkinson is doing. How about the Cavs player I'm most excited about that has come out of the woodwork maybe for you, especially with these new rotations and combinations?
Well, I'll tell you, a guy who I've always had a soft spot for is Darius Garland. You know, and he's been maligned at times in this town. He's been played at a very, very high level for the Cavs in the past. And he's a guy who everybody sees as having a high ceiling that doesn't always deliver. And I would love to see him really progress as a starter on this team and really between him and Mitchell be the true leaders on this team. And I think they could do that 1 and 2. I know Mobley, everybody's been looking at him to advance. Garland is a guy, boy, when he gets going and he gets cutting in there, I think the team is just different. And I love to see that out of them, and I want to see that continue.
And I'll throw you an underrated piece that hasn't been discussed much, especially not nationally at all, is Ty Jerome. I mean, we've talked so much about the Cavs were a team that didn't add any outside free agents outside of their own. Ty Jerome didn't play last year. He had that mysterious ankle foot injury. Boy, has that been a welcome sight.
Well.
It's been awesome to have a true backup point guard and see what that can do for the second unit. I think that could also be valuable as guys start getting a little bit more tired, a little bit more worn out down the stretch of a long season. You could lean on a guy like Ty Jerome to at least efficiently run the offense and distribute the basketball. I think that's been a very welcomed addition to the Cavs this season.
And it'll also be interesting, speaking of additions, once Max Strus comes back, how he fits into this lineup right now. You have Dean Wade, who's been playing pretty darn well, I've thought. And it's somebody who's also been maligned quite a bit by this guy right here and a lot of people in Cleveland. So we've got some moving parts that we'll have to find out over the course of this season. But I think it's all good things that can come into this organization, come into the lineup here in the next few months.
Real quick before we take a break, your expectations for the Cavs season are?
Well, championship or bust. Why not, right? Celtics are frauds. Who cares? We're going to win the East. The East runs through Cleveland, Nick. Let's go all optimism.
I hope so. I really do. I would love to see them in another conference finals. I think getting further than where you got last season and cracking an Eastern Conference Finals, I mean, Cavs Boston, for a chance to go to the NBA Finals would be awesome. I think that's where I'm setting my expectations. Let's just get a crack at the Eastern Conference Finals this year.
Let's go. We're doing it. Thanks again to our friends at Affinity Whole Health. We've got to take a break. We'll be back with more Big Play Cleveland Show right after this.
Welcome on back into the Big Play Cleveland Show. Our friends at Northeast Factory Direct have the best products at an unbelievable price. And guys, it's getting ready to be the winter time here. It's one of my least favorite times of the year. We move past the daylight savings. It's getting dark very early. You're spending more time inside, and that means it's time for you to visit my friends over at Northeast Factory Direct. Now, you can shop online anytime by going online at northeastfactorydirect.com, but you got to check them out in store. Cleveland, Euclid, Macedonia, North Canton. If you're looking for an even better deal, you could check out their outlet centers in Euclid or Canton. But it's truly a unique furniture buying experience unlike any other. Make sure to ask about that special Big Play bonus for an extra hookup when you're checking out. We appreciate our friends over at Northeast Factory Direct. Guys, we were talking about the bye week and our favorite bye week activities.
Yeah.
Chris, you want the Browns to go away for a bye week. What are you doing? What's the game plan on Sunday with no Browns football?
You have to get a lot of the yard work out of the way. Now with these nicer temperatures that we're getting later in the year, 70 degrees here at beautiful Burke today in Cleveland, Ohio in the beginning of November. So this is your last chance to kind of get the yard all set for the winter, kind of winterize things. And I'll tell you, some of my neighbors, they're going to be putting up lights already because they're going to take advantage of this warm weather. I think it's way too early for anything like that.
Never.
I won't be doing that. I got to wait until at least Thanksgiving. But I know a lot of my neighbors are going to be out there this week.
Yeah, you got to capitalize on
Nick,
the nice weather while
what are you
it's
doing
here.
for the bye week?
I don't know. I'd probably just watching more football, watching more games, betting on
Watch
football.
better football.
Yeah, watch better football. How about that? Reading some mock drafts. I did.
Oh.
I had to completely dust off the mock draft, guys. I went full relapse after the game on Sunday, and I was just every website. NFL Network, CBS, ESPN, Bleacher Report. I'm reading every mock draft under the sun. I'm all the way back fully in mock draft mode with our Browns at 2-3.
That is
It's
funny.
a sickness.
Chris, what do you have against putting the lights up early? Are you like one of those people who you can't stand the new Christmas drinks and the Christmas music and the Christmas lights
I'm not
too
bah
far ahead of
humbug
time?
guy. I'm not bah humbug guy, but I gotta wait for Thanksgiving to have its due. I love Thanksgiving, Nick. I don't know why, but you are not a Thanksgiving
I'm not a
guy.
Thanksgiving
I do not.
guy.
It's elite. Thanksgiving is elite. It deserves its due. For me, it's a top 5 holiday easily. Put it up there with 4th of July. The food's great. You get some football. You get plenty of rest. You get family around. You talk politics. You yell at each other. You enjoy the day. Thanksgiving, give it its due.
What do you have against Thanksgiving?
If Thanksgiving was as good as it's sold to me, why wouldn't you eat turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes?
Because
in
it's
June?
special. It's
In
reserved for
July?
Thanksgiving.
No, I eat burgers and hot dogs all year, and on the 4th of July, it's extra special because we're celebrating America. But I eat that food year-round. The dry turkey, the stuffing, the cranberry sauce that just sits there untouched. I could do without it. Get me through Halloween, fast forward right to Christmas. I could do without Thanksgiving. It's a take that I've had on this show for a very long time.
And after
Wow.
that, you get the pies, the pumpkin pie, the pecan pie, all the great pies. I mean, it's all the way around. This is a great holiday.
Hopefully,
I
are you-
cannot get over the fact you do not respect
We're not going to
Thanksgiving.
end this show on you not being a pie guy, right?
Oh, I like pie.
Oh, all right.
We can end it there.
Thanks for watching the Big Play Cleveland Show. We'll see you next week.